Round 4 of the Six Nations gave us upsets, surprises and entertainment galore. My name's Mark, let's talk rugby. It was a great weekend of rugby in the fourth round of the Six Nations. We had, some major shocks, some great performances as well. I think, the three teams that won probably hit their, so far at least, the highest point in this year's tournament. And it was really good to see, the fact that the tournament, we talk about it being very competitive. And this year was looking maybe it wasn't going to be as competitive as we normally see it, especially up at the top. But now everything is up for grabs again, and it's why we love the Six Nations. Going to talk about each of the games, around about 5 minutes each, depending on how much I ramble. I ramble a lot, by the way, if you've never watched me before. But if you want longer reviews of any of the games, there's a review of each of the games already up on the channel, so go check those out. We're going to start with the first game of the weekend, which is Italy 31, Scotland 29. So Italy came in on the back of, that draw that should have been a win against France. So on a low, Scotland come in on the back of that, emphatic win against England, retaining the Calcutta Cup as well there, and feeling like they've gotten their challenge for the title back on track. So very different mental places for the two teams to be in, but together they produced what was a fantastic game of rugby. So Italy, they opened the scoring. Garbisi with a penalty in the first minute. He does nail it despite the ball again falling off the tee for him. So I don't know what's going on with his tee. Maybe he needs to get a new one. But Italy ahead. Scotland, though, quick fire double from them. Xander Fagerson going over from close range, converted by Russell. Then, about 5 minutes or so later, they're back in that 22. They're stretching Italy left and right. On the left, Van der Merwe, causing a bit of trouble there. He's stopped, though. Scotland recycle. Russell carries into contact to get it out. Kinghorn then puts Stain through a gap and glides over to score, converted again, and it looks like Scotland are taking control of the game. But a couple minutes later, Italy off the back of a scrum score on first phase. Nice little chip over the top, and Brex is the first there to get it and to ground it. It's converted, and Italy right back in the game. But then Scotland go again. Finn Russell with a penalty. A few minutes later, then it's the other prop, Skuman, who goes over to score from. Was that? I'm pretty sure it was the back of a maul, right? He goes over from, and then it looked like Scotland in total control, but Italy start to chip away at the lead. Coming into halftime, first of all, Garbisi with a penalty, and then a long-range effort from Paige Relo as well, make it 22-16 at halftime. Scotland still with a lead, but not as comfortable as it looked like it was going to be for them. Into the second half, then, and Italy are the first to strike. Another nice little chip into space over the back, over that Scotland defence. And Lewis Lina on debut is the first man there. He picks that up, has the pace then to go between two defenders and over to score. And then Garbisi actually misses what was pretty much a gimme conversion from there. And it meant that instead of leading by 1 point, Italy were now still trailing by a point. But Italy weren't done at that stage, and Stephen Barney, he then snipes over for the bonus point try. Was it? No, it wasn't a bonus. The third try for Italy, and it's converted, and suddenly now Italy are in the lead, and Scotland now need to produce a response to that. They do come forward, but it's Italy that actually score next. We have another Garbisi penalty, gives them a 9-point cushion. And, at this stage, it's at like 31-22. And Scotland haven't scored in the second half. And, they finally do get over through Sam Skinner from, driving over from close range. But although it's a bonus point try and gets them a losing bonus point, they just can't come up then with the to get themselves in a position for either a drop goal or a penalty that they're pushing for in the kind of the 2.5 minutes or so after the 80 that they played. Eventually knock on, and obviously Rome goes crazy. The atmosphere was amazing even before the game, and it felt special all the way through. That sometimes you just get a feeling that something special is going to happen, and I'm sure English fans probably the same thing around Twickenham on Saturday as well. But this one, as a neutral, I said it in my longer form review as well, is the first time that I actually felt goosebumps before an Italian game, even when Ireland had played them previously, that it just felt like this is something different. This is going to be special today. And it turned out it was. I might have, it could have been, I think it's just coincidence though. I don't believe in like fate or anything like that. I think it's, I could have had the goosebumps and then Italy get pumped by 50 and it wouldn't have mattered. It would have just been a case of, well, the crowd were up for, but the team weren't or wherever. But it's amazing for Italy. It's well deserved, for the likes of Lamaro, who I think is an excellent captain. And, you got Casada in there as the new coach as well. And you can see that there's more buy-in from the public now in Italy into rugby than we'd ever seen. And that's why I think this is something different compared to other victories you've seen from Italy. I think this is the kind of thing that's going to inspire and a new generation and help the game to grow. And I think we're going to see them go from strength to strength now from this. It's not always going to be, no rise is ever linear. And, there's going to be bumps along the way, but we're going to see Italy rise now as a rugby nation, I think, over the next decade or so. For Scotland, they got the losing bonus point. They got the try bonus point, but they wanted that 5-point win, and it would have been so sweet, given what happened in the next game as well, if they had got that. But luckily for them, they still have a chance, so they got to pick themselves back up now and go again next weekend. But we're going to talk about that next game, which has given them that chance, and that is England 23, Ireland 22. And in fairness, like as an Irish fan, I'm surprised how close the game was, because England were by far the better of these two teams. And that halftime score as well, when we come to it, did not do England's performance justice at all. But into the game, so Ireland actually opened the scoring. Jack Crowley with a penalty after Ireland looking pretty good, like, finding some gaps and putting pressure on in the English 22. But pretty much from the restart, England, they find space out wide. Lawrence, I think he shook off the tackle of Crowley and he goes over to score in the corner. Conversion is missed, but England now winning by 5 points to 3. George Ford then tags on a penalty. I think that was that from... No, I'm trying to remember. I know England did win a scrum penalty, but I think it might have been at the breakdown actually that one came from. But he tags over or puts over a penalty, 8-3, and England looking, as I said, the better of the two teams. They're stretching that Irish defence. They're also pressuring Ireland when they've got the ball as well. Ireland not looking as slick as they normally are. And, you can look at it kind of two ways. You can look at it as in, like, Ireland just weren't on it on the day, or England's pressure in defence made it that Ireland weren't on it on the day. I think it was more of that than Ireland just not turning up. But Ireland start eating into that lead. Crowley with another penalty makes it 8-6. Then 5 minutes to go, he puts Ireland ahead. 9-8, and then just on the stroke of half time pops over another penalty. And that was kind of interesting for me, is that normally you would see kind of with that just before half time, you would see Ireland maybe go to the corner, but it's a testament to England, the fact that they were disrupting that Irish line out so much, and the maul defence as well was very good from England, that Ireland didn't see it as a good decision to go to the corner. They just said, let's take the points and let's get in with, you know, a lead at half time. And I think an undeserved lead as well. Again, I thought England were the better team in that first half, and that continued into the second half really. But start of the second half, Ireland, they do find some space. They get Lowe free on the left, and he just goes in over in the corner to score. And then, you know, Ireland are leading by 9 points at this stage. Conversions missed, but still, when you think about a 9-point lead, giving that to Ireland, you're thinking it's going to be a tough task to come back. But England, they strike back pretty much straight away. We have some lovely hands from, who was it Underhill? One of the back rows, I think, offloaded to Itoje, and then they give it off the Furbank, and they've just got, too much space out wide. He goes over to score, and he had, somebody in support as well. It's not like, it was a desperate score. There was plenty of space there for him, and if they had a need to, he could have drawn, and he covered the fence and popped somebody in anyway. So really well worked, and some great hands in there as well to keep the ball alive. From England, and just some really great attacking play that we haven't seen that level of attack from England so far this tournament. They were so on it. It was really nice to see in terms of just their play. England, they're not done. They keep that pressure up on Ireland. Ireland find it very hard to have any kind of sustained period, in English territory, on the back foot a lot. And a lot of their moves, when they are there, England are forcing knock-ons or getting turnovers, and Ireland just not able to settle for any period in the game at all. And it's England that score next. Pressure on the Irish line. I think at this stage, was this around the time that O'Mahony was sent to the bin? I think it might have been, yeah. I think O'Mahony was in the bin at this stage, and Earl goes over under the post, but it was, a score was coming. Ireland were just not looking like they were going to hold them out at all. Marcus Smith is on at 10. He converts that for England, and, now they're back in control of the game, and Ireland need to respond. Ireland do respond again. They get Lowe free on that left side again, and he goes over in the same corner. Conversion again missed by Crowley, but Ireland crucially leading by a couple of points going into the last few minutes. Ireland then, I don't think they managed those last few minutes very well in terms of, getting out of their own territory, and the fact that England were there coming back at them all the time, and the likes of Faye Wabosi as well, running the ball back, getting England into decent positions, and just so much pressure on the Irish team. And then England, they got 2 penalty advantages, but they don't need either of them, because Marcus Smith drops, like, it was a scruffy drop goal, but it was still, it's a match-winning drop goal. Who gives a crap? As long as it goes over the bar, he doesn't have to kick it any sweeter than he did, because it made it, right? So winning drop goal from him, and Twickenham goes wild. And when you look at, like, Ireland only scored, they had the 2 low tries, but other than that, no points at all from Crowley in that second half. The 2 conversions were difficult. On another day, maybe he lands one of those, but I still think that England, just the way they were playing, would have, if England had needed to score a try at the end there to win the game, I think just the way they were playing, they probably would have done it. So I don't think you can point the finger at Crowley and say that his kicking cost Ireland. But the thing is, he didn't score a point in the second half. And the point I'm making here is not about his kicking ability. It's about the fact that England, other than those conversion attempts, England didn't give him another kick at goal. And, the first half he scored 4 penalties, and that kept Ireland in the hunt all the time. The second half, Ireland weren't winning those penalties in kickable position. We didn't see many penalties where Ireland had to decide between kicking for the post or going to the corner, because England were much the more comfortable team in defence, and they didn't have to concede the penalties, whereas Ireland did, and that was giving England those positions. And in the end, that's pretty much what helped England. England was the fact that when Ireland were defending, they didn't look anywhere near as comfortable, and England knew then they were playing with penalty advantage, and they could stretch Ireland a little bit more and try things and come up with the actual tries that won it for them as well, and the drop goal there at the end. So excellent performance from England. As an Irish fan, absolutely no complaint from my side. Again, I think England were the better of the two teams on the day. Ireland will have to learn from this, and they're going to have to learn from the fact as well that, from the rest of the first 3 rounds, there weren't many periods where they were under pressure, whereas at Twickenham on Saturday, pretty much the whole game they were under pressure, whether it was in attack or defence. And having been able to cope with that is something that obviously the coaches are going to look at it, and they're going to figure out a way to do it. But they also need some kind of way to deal with it during the game on the field, and to be able to not necessarily have a plan B or anything like that, but just to be able to notice patterns and see if there are kind of, I'm sure if you gave them, a week to look at what England did, the coaches can go, oh, well, England keep doing this, so when they do that, if we were just to do this, then we'd actually find a massive hole in their defence or whatever, right? But on the field, to be able to do that is maybe something, Crowley as a young 10, it's something that's going to come to him in time. But I think something to have to remember for any team, no matter how good they are, is that often a defeat can teach you a lot about your team that you won't get if your team keeps winning easily all the time. And you learn about your deficiencies and what you can do to correct those, and also different systems, a system that was employed against you and was successful, how to counter that in the future. So I think for Ireland, they're going to become a better team because of this defeat. England, though, have shown that they're actually on the right path at the minute, whereas I think a lot of people were kind of questioning where Portugal was going with his side. But if they can produce this on a consistent basis, then England are actually looking pretty good. Now on to the final game of the weekend, which is Wales 24, France 45. So this one was fairly close, up until kind of the last quarter of the game. And we start off with penalty from Wales from Stam Costello. Then Ramos ties it up. And then we have Rio Dyer score where, Wales seem to be under pressure, going backwards a little bit. Then Dyer spots a gap, weaves his way through and goes over to score. Just a bit of magic from him. And then we have, another Ramos penalty to keep France in touch. And after that, then it's Gail Fiku's score. So some nice hands, maybe a little bit of blocking in the run up, but then really great feet from Fiku to beat his man and go over to score. Response then from Wales through Thomas Williams. It was, who was it? Was it Watkins? I think made a break, and then he just pops the ball off to Williams and gives them a nice run in. But Watkins did the work that led up to the try. Really good, great break, great feet, and good awareness as well from him to create that try. Then we have France besieging that Welsh line. Legaric snipes over to score. I know it's just back and forth between the teams. The league keep changing all the time. We have a bit of a breather the last 10 minutes of the half. I don't think there was a score from either team, right? But the halftime score is 20 points to 17 to France. But you're thinking both teams absolutely in the game. And second half, then Joe Roberts over within a couple of minutes to score for Wales, and now they're in the lead. But 44th minute, that conversion for Costa was the last time that Wales score in the game. And we talked about it previously that in their other games they've only been scoring in one of the two halves. Whether it was that 26-point comeback almost win against Scotland from the second half, or against England where they scored 14 points in the first half and were nilled in the second half, or Ireland where they scored their points in the second half as well and didn't score all the first half. So at least they scored some second half points, but you need to score a bit further into the game than that if you're going to win. But from here then, we have the third quarter, the third quarter, France don't score, but then 20 minutes to go, they start to take control of the game. Ramos scores a penalty. A couple minutes later, then Colombe drives over to score as well. Then we have Romain Taufi Fanua charges down Gareth Davis, attempted clearance kick, and then gets the ball first to ground to score. And at that stage, then the game is done as a contest. Ramos brings up 40 points from the tee with a penalty, and then Luku, nice move off the scrum where they kind of just sucked in on the short side, sucked in that Welsh defence, and then Pinot popping it off to Luku to go over and score. And really great performance from France, a kind of big return to form from them. Wales, though, again, looking promising but not delivering results, and that's something where maybe it's going to be during their summer tour or even the autumn internationals, but at some point you've got to start producing results. You can't be looking you can't be looking good in defeat forever. Is the problem that they're going to have, is that they need to get that win. Obviously, next week, the big target will be Italy. We'll talk about that in our preview, but we're going to now have a look at the table. So, at the moment now, we've got still Ireland at the top there, but, a lot of people were probably thinking that Ireland may have, actually tied up the whole kit and caboodle, as it were, before Wales played their game. That Scotland's defeat is certainly against Italy. People would have thought, oh well, Ireland now they've won it, but that's not the case anymore. So Ireland's still at the top there with 16 points, but England now in second place with 12 points, so with a very realistic chance. If Ireland loses to Scotland, England with a bonus point win could win the whole championship. And nobody was really talking about them as realistic contenders. I did mention them earlier on in the tournament, but going into the weekend just gone, I have to be honest, I didn't look at them. I still thought they had an outside chance of the title, because again, a win would lead to this scenario. But did I think that they were serious contenders for the title? Absolutely not. And anybody who told you that they did is either in the England camp and has to say that, or is lying to you, is what I would say. But now absolutely realistic contenders for the title. People will fall into the same trap of saying, oh, well, obviously Ireland are going to be Scotland, but obviously Ireland were going to be England, and it didn't happen. So, you know, you may say that and you may be right. But things can happen in rugby, and we saw it this weekend. So you cannot say that Ireland are just going to beat Scotland. So Ireland at the top there, 16 points. England next on 12. Scotland just a point behind on 11. They'll be looking at that game against Ireland thinking, okay, we absolutely have a chance now. Bonus point win, deny Ireland a losing bonus point. And obviously they've got to, it's got to be a big win though. You know, they've got to win by what? Pretty much 40 points, right? To swing that points difference in their favor. But you know, if you're gonna you know, go for it, why not go for the whole kit and caboodle, you know? And again, we've seen stranger things in rugby happen, you know, so you can't just completely dismiss it. France in a similar position, actually. They've got to get a bonus point win against England and beat them by you know, a big margin, and hope that Scotland beat Ireland, but you know, that basically that they can win by a better margin than Scotland, that Scotland will reduce Ireland's points difference and France will do the rest against England and get over the line there to win. So, you know, although Ireland are still the favourites to win the tournament, England, Scotland and France definitely have chances. England's the most realistic of those teams, simply because they have that one extra point, which is, I think, is going to be very crucial if they do win the title. I think it's going to be on points, like match points, rather than on points difference, that they do it. So Ireland probably are looking at needing a bonus point of some sort against Scotland to win the title. But when you go in thinking of that rather than preparing, I'm sure Ireland aren't thinking that. They're preparing to try and win that game against Scotland. They're not thinking about, oh, well, if we finish within a few points or wherever, you know, 7 points, we can win the title. If you start thinking like that, you're going to lose the game, I feel. But then after France, then we have Italy down there in 5th place on 7 points, you know, and Wales, they're still with a chance to overhaul them and avoid the wooden spoon. So Wales picked up those 3 bonus points in the first 2 rounds. They got 2 bonus points again in that defeat against Scotland because they got 4 tries and they finished within 7 points. And then they got the other bonus point at Twickenham, where you know, they finished within a score of England. So they haven't scored a match point in the 2 rounds since, but it's still enough for them to be in with a shout of overhauling Italy. I think in terms of on performances and the magnitude of what Italy have done, it really would be a shame if Italy got overtaken. But again, this is a young Welsh side who are showing signs that, you know, if they can be kept together, if they can be brought on, that they could be, you know, a very good side in the future. This is the kind of game now where if they can go in there and get that win against Italy, and it's just another stepping stone for them, right? They've got their first win as a team together, and it builds that confidence going into, you know, their summer tour and the autumn, etc. And then coming back then for next year's Six Nations, feeling like they, you know, they're ready to step up to a new level. So, you know, it really is nicely poised. I think you've got like that battle, the top 4 in a battle for the title. Again, Ireland's definitely the favourites, but each of the other teams involved in that will feel like that, you know, that there is a route there for them to lift that trophy. Whereas probably after Scotland's loss to Italy, everyone or most people certainly were thinking that that's it, the tournament is over. Suddenly we've got new life, you know, breathed into it by that England win against Ireland, and it just makes it so exciting. And then at the bottom, then we have that wooden spoon playoff between Italy and Wales, and Italy potentially, depending on how results go, could finish as high as third in the table if other results go their way as well. Like obviously they would need a bonus point win to do that, because they're probably not going to overhaul points difference on the teams above them. But again, it just shows how it's gone from almost like a procession for Ireland, to like back-to-back Grand Slam and blah, 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 to being a really exciting end to the tournament. And again, it's one of the reasons why I love rugby. I should be kind of, there is part of me that's kind of down in the doldrums. You can't help that, right? When your team loses, you've got that kind of feeling of, oh, I don't want to even talk about rugby. I don't want to look at rugby. But it's just so compelling how things are that there's part of me going, it's doing that bit, and another part is going, no, this is exciting. This is great rugby. And it's maybe because of kind of siphon off a part of me to be more neutral, if you like, to try and kind of counteract what I know is going to be a natural bias towards my team, whether that's Leinster or Ireland. I always try and be as impartial as somebody who has, a dog in the fight can be. And that part of me is just thinking, this is a great end to the tournament. Anything can happen there at the top, and people who are saying, oh, well, there's no way Ireland don't lift the trophy. There's the same people who are saying that there's no way Ireland lose to this England team, but they're wrong. The weekend gone, they could be wrong the weekend coming as well. But we're going to have a preview of that coming up probably tomorrow, and we'll start looking at then the individual games as well. But again, it's an exciting weekend ahead of us.